Hey YouTube, it's Scotty B, and we're going to do another car review. This is a 2017 Kia Sportage. Now, this one's got all-wheel drive. It has the 2.4 liter GDI direct injection engine. This is a review on a long-term ownership. This is my wife's car. She's had it since being brand new in 2017, so we're almost 10 years old. It has about 145,000 miles. So we're just going to give just a little bit of tips and tricks and just what it's like owning one of these. Now, I know Kia gets a lot of bad rap. A lot of people are like, don't buy a Kia, they're junk. Kias are horrible. They'll blow up on you, all this sort of stuff. My uncle had one, he had good luck with it. Another friend of mine, he had one, he liked it. I worked on a couple of them when I was a mechanic. They're not horrible cars. They're not really super great cars, but for an affordable car, especially if you want to buy something new, it's kind of hard to, there's not really a lot out there anymore that's affordable. And also, you get a 10-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. Well, I think actually it's bumper to bumper, if I'm not wrong. I think it actually was bumper to bumper. My mom has had two. We leased one and then we bought our second lease out. Ended up being a good car. So let's dive into the Kia Sportage. So under the hood here, we have our 2.4 liter GDI. Now I know I think there's a bunch of different engineer designations for these. However, this was the problem motor. This was the, the recall and the, it's gonna blow up on you. It's drinking oil. It's a horrible engine. In my opinion, the biggest issues with these is that you have a unfortunate combination of things that created an issue. One, as in my other videos, if you've seen why new cars suck, I talk about how the engineers and the auto industry is constantly trying to keep up with ever-evolving and changing emissions regulations and direct injection engines, also engines that use low drag piston rings, and all these systems to get better gas mileage and meet the standards cause problems. This engine uses low drag piston rings, at least from what I understand reading about this. Maybe I'm wrong, is what I discovered. However, I fixed this. So this engine at one point was consuming a quart of oil every 500 miles. Now before I do, let's go back to the beginning. My wife had this engine replaced under warranty. Now if you're ever looking at one of these used, see this dipstick? See the handle, how it's red? They come from the factory with a yellow one. Now why that's important is it's the fact that yellow means it's the original engine. Red means it was replaced under warranty once. Orange means it was replaced under warranty 2 times. So just be warned, when you're looking at one, you might find a couple of them with the red dipstick. So this one is on its second engine. And this engine started at, only being in the car, it had 30,000 miles on it. It was drinking a quart of oil every 500, 600 miles. Took it to the dealer. They said we needed a new engine, all this other stuff. However, I've been reading what I was reading and trying to educate myself on why or what the issue was, is the piston rings will actually clog up, they'll carbon up. And I think that's because the low drag rings, coupled with a higher compression direct injection engine, the pressure's got to go somewhere, and eventually the rings get fouled and carboned up, just like your intake valves on these direct injection engines will. So you have to keep up with certain maintenance things. So I cleaned the rings by pouring stuff, removed the spark plugs, and I poured a solution in there to attack the gummed up rings. And it takes a while. I mean, it's not very labor intensive, but it's just the car needs to sit for a bit. The rings have to soak, you have to turn it over, then you have to drain the oil, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to do a video on that later. But basically, yeah, it stopped burning oil. Better than putting an engine in it, right? So yeah, now it's fine, but what you need to do is you can't go by the full synthetic 5, 6, 7, whatever thousand mile oil changes. You got to change the oil earlier. You need to change it roughly 3,000 miles. As long as we keep up on oil changes, I haven't noticed much of an issue. So one thing you need to do is after you do that cleaning, you need to constantly check the oil. I would make sure you just change it every 3,000 and check it once in a while. Also change the PCV valve. If that gets gummed up, it'll consume oil. It'll actually contribute to gumming up and causing more problems. And a fuel induction service. All direct injection engines need a fuel induction service. I would say probably every, Ford used to say like 15,000 miles, but that's probably could have changed. But yeah, we did that service to clean the rings at 118,000. Now we got like 145, and it's not drinking a quart of oil every 500 miles. And yeah, I would just say if you keep up on the maintenance, they're good cars. If you pay a little bit more attention to checking the oil regularly, you can avoid that issue. And if it starts drinking oil, do the thing with the rings, clean the rings. They call it a top engine clean or top engine service, and that should help you out for the most. No, so your basic 4-cylinder stuff and basic car care stuff. I mean, we had a problem with the AC compressor. One of the bearings in it was bad. It was making all sorts of weird noises. We had an issue with, you'd come to a stop and the ABS would get false ABS activations. It ended up being the tone ring on the axle was bad. You know, I mean, it's a 9-year-old car. It's gonna, with 140,000 miles, it's gonna give you weird stuff like that. But for the most part, it's been a reliable car. My wife loves it, and we're gonna keep it alive. But you know, just typical things like the headlights are fogged out. Oh, also about headlights. This thing loves to eat headlights, and I don't really think it's the car's issues. I think it's more of the bulb manufacturer's issues. Most of the bulbs on the back of the packages say good for 12 months. So if you get 1 year out of a headlight bulb, it's probably meeting its standards. So I'm going to do some more research on this because, quite frankly, I've never owned a car where I had to change the headlights every year. I think I owned a car for like 6 years and got rid of it, and it had the same headlights and bulbs and whatever in it. So, I don't know. Another thing is, this is all-wheel drive. This is not a selectable 4-wheel drive. So basically what you have is you have your engine, your transmission, and you have sometimes they call it a power takeoff unit, and then you have your drive shaft, and then it goes to your rear differential. Now, all these fluids need to be changed, and I found it funny that when I first met my wife, they had never sold her those fluids or recommended it to be changed, which it's funny because Kia itself recommends you change the transmission fluid and change these fluids. So we ended up doing that, and actually she was starting to have a problem with her transmission, and we changed the fluid, and it wasn't dark, but it was it's supposed to be red. It was kind of brown, but changing that helped it out. And yeah, just keep up on your fluid changes. It's basic maintenance. Follow the maintenance stuff, and yeah. Other than that, it's kind of a basic car to take care of. Just the little quirks about the engine oil consumption is something you need to be aware of. Now we're on the interior of the Kia Sportage, and you have a nice cockpit. There's enough leg room for you to sit if you're tall. My wife is 6'1", and she has more than enough leg room, and you can still seat someone in the back. The seats are still nice and comfortable. For the kind of mileage it has, usually cars' seats they kind of break down, and they don't get as comfortable. But these have held up, and now we drove like 400 or 500 miles on our trip, and we had enough stuff packed in here for a week. And we still had extra space if we needed to. So for a small SUV that's 4-wheel drive, and it's the Kia, it's a budget car. I mean, it did very well. I was very impressed with the drive. And also what's great about it is if you're like me and you like having buttons and gauges that you can see and not a bunch of stuff hidden behind a screen, you have all your AC, your HVAC controls right down here, a bunch of buttons, easy to use. And same thing with your shifter. It's a traditional operated shifter for an automatic transmission. You also have a lock for your 4-wheel drive system, so if you have very, very inclement weather, you can lock it so that way it's 50% power to the front, 50% power to the rear. And there's this drive mode. I'm not 100% sure with that. I think it changes it from eco to sport, but I don't even worry about that. This is, I think, a hill descent. If you are going down a hill and you are, in your obviously 4-wheel drive, this can assist you to keeping you moving slower. But for the most part, your cruise control buttons are here. Your radio and phone buttons are here. This does have Bluetooth. It's like I said, the way it's laid out is it's still nice. It's still like an older car where you still can get to all your buttons, and you have good driving ergonomics. I've driven this car multiple times, and I've been happy with it. And yeah. Oh, by the way, so what's nice is a lot of these newer cars, they keep putting like big clusters of stuff up here for, I'm assuming, for lasers and stuff for self-driving or whatever. But you have a nice view. You actually have a good view throughout the windshield. There's nothing blocking you. And the A-pillars aren't bad at all. You can still see around them. Some cars now, they have very beefy A-pillars where there's a huge blind spot. This one is not too bad at all. So good, in my opinion, very good visibility and very good driving ergonomics. And good storage for a small SUV. So let's go for a quick drive. Safety first, always wear your seatbelts. Now there also is a backup camera. Backup camera is in the little screen in the center of the radio, so you can glance down and still see your mirrors. I like to use my mirrors, but the backup camera is nice. And what's nice about this, even though it looks tiny, you actually have a lot of good field of view, really. So it's definitely not bad at all. Definitely helps you when you comes to backing out of the driveway. So we'll go down here, just go around the block real quick with a short drive, and then we'll go down the road even more. Like I said, the 2.4 is definitely not bad. You're not a race car, but you're not underpowered. It's not a loud engine either. It's pretty smooth. And, you can get up to speed, or, this is a side street, so going around like 20, 25, 30 miles an hour is not bad at all. That little thing rattles a little bit. Sorry if it picks up that kind of noise. But for the most part, you have good visibility out the rear mirror. You can see everything. You don't have a tiny back window. A lot of these cars now, they like to make them with a high belt line on the side and a very small rear mirror, and it cuts down on visibility, and that's something I can't stand. It might look cool. I mean, I gotta say, sometimes they look neat like that, but when you're driving the car and you need to see, you need to be able to see everything around you. That's the whole point. And I think the Sportage, they did a pretty good job with that. Everything for the most part, being able to reach all your gauges, be able to get to your lights, wipers, everything's easy. It's very, very simple. All the buttons on the steering wheel are easy to touch and get to. It's not a bad car at all. Like I said earlier, the biggest concern I think you'll have is it's going to be the oil consumption issue if you have it. And if you're looking for one of these used, and you see that it's had the engine replaced, at least at one point it's been replaced. However, now, if you're an original owner of one of these, which if you're watching this video, you're probably not, but the people that bought these and had issues, like my wife has a lifetime warranty on the bottom components of the engine. So if it starts getting a rod knock or something, they still will replace the engine. So yeah, we're gonna keep this one for a bit. And for the most part, like I said, the maintenance on these, it's going to be typical stuff. I don't believe there's any brand that has made a car that's perfect. There's going to be certain models that some brands might have that might be decent cars. And another thing about this little car, this little Kia, is that you can kind of spin it around kind of quick. For being, even though it's an SUV, it still has good handling characteristics. You don't feel like you're going to flip over or something if you have to make a tight corner. And also for the interior panels and quality of the interior, I mean, this says $145,000 on it, and my wife does keep her car very clean, but there's times, you use your car, things get dirty, stuff happens, and the interior has held up quite well. A lot of the plastic is still in good shape, and a lot of the wear parts, things on the steering wheel and the shifter pad, the door pad, they're all in good shape. So, I know people like to say, oh, it's not a quality car, but I mean, it seems to be holding up very well. And I mean, so if you bought one of these and it was taken care of, someone took good care of it and did fluid changes and did the maintenance and took care of the engine, I would have no problem saying that you should be able to get maybe another $100,000 out of it or more. So, and you got Bluetooth, you got all the other fancy stuff that radio should have on a more modern car now. Seem to be okay here. We'll run it down the road and get up to speed a little bit. Alright, let's give her the good old get up and go test. And make sure all your road safety stuff. speed and drives good. Does everything you need it to do. So it's not bad at all for a 4-cylinder. So if you're worried about, you know, like, oh, I don't think I'm going to have enough power, I mean, I got up to speed really quickly there, and this is it's a country road, so it's like 45, 50 miles an hour. So I don't feel underpowered at all pulling out on a side street. And you know, you get a good set of tires on it, so we did put tires on it, and you get a good set of tires in alignment, and it'll drive and ride nice. You know, right now, no hands on the steering wheel, and we're tracking down the road straight. So I don't think it's a garbage car that a lot of people make it out to be, and I don't think you are losing too much compared to any other vehicle you're going to look at that's in the same class. I mean, I used to work on a lot of different cars, and like the CR-Vs, the Toyota RAV4s. I mean, those are all good cars, but you know, they're all in the same wheelhouse of a small SUV. And I think if you want to save some money, and you need a car to go from A to B, that's kind of the thing we're trying to talk about here on this channel too. Is just cars you can afford that you can go from A to B, and just some of the things to be concerned about. And you know, I know not everyone is going to have a 100% positive experience with every make, model, or car brand, but for the most part, as long as you take care of them, they're going to do a good job for you. And this little guy does also. This one does well in the snow with the 4-wheel drive. My wife feels comfortable driving with it. We've driven it in some blizzard, some inclement weather, and we've had no problem. We live in an area where we get a ton of snow, and yeah, this thing's fine. So if you have any concerns about safety and in the snow, I wouldn't be worried about it. It's going to do fine. Again, that also depends on your tires. If you have bad tires, you're going to have not good traction. So just make sure you have good tires and you take care of your tires. This also has 4-wheel disc brakes and ABS. I mean, every car has ABS now. But the brakes are not horribly expensive. You can get them quite easily. And it does a good job. The brakes are good. We haven't had any real issues with the brake system. The suspension seems good. I mean, we're riding on the original shocks and struts and springs, so the suspension is held up very well. I'm trying to think of just anything else. I mean, I think the biggest issue she had with this was the oil consumption. The first engine, which was due to oil consumption. I think most of the issues people are having with these is they're going by the 5,000 or 7,000 mile oil change, and if you're burning a quart of oil, they put this stupid sign here and you can't see anything. So luckily I was very cautious, and we can pull out again. Let's get up to speed. And there we're at speed. Not the fastest car in the world, not slow, you don't feel underpowered, but it moves when you want it to move. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is the 2017 Kia Sportage all-wheel drive, and I think gets my stamp of approval. So if you're in the market for one of these and you're thinking about it, but you've heard all the bad stuff about the oil and it's going to blow up, it's a Kia, it's junk. My wife owned this for 9 years since it was brand new, and that was the biggest problem she had was with the oil consumption, which they replaced it out of warranty. She didn't have to spend a dime on it, and I was able to fix it again. So now if going into it, it's something that you could possibly fix. That's not like an end of the world situation that could happen with the engine if it's burning a little bit of oil. Well, in that case, a quart every 500 miles is a lot of oil in my opinion. But yeah, it's something you can fix, and it's something you just got to keep an eye on and take care of the car. 3,000 mile oil changes. Check it every once in a while, and yeah. So if you're in the market for a small SUV, the 2017 Kia Sportage would be a pretty good one to look at.